Well, for heaven's sakes, I see by the calendar that it's Thursday, June the 7th, 1973, all over again. And we we are pretending to be at the City Lights bookstore in San Francisco near the corner of, I believe it's Columbus and Broadway. And on Thursdays in that month, they are holding their all night poetry reading. And, well, this young fellow has just made his way into town. He's been performing for a very short time. See how he trembles. For only about 4 months, he's been working out of Montreal, and he's taken the cross-country train to Vancouver and done some shows there. He calls them shows. And then on down to Portland, where he spent a fascinating week, and then a day or two in Eugene, Oregon, and now he's worked his way down into California. He thinks he's on his way to Hollywood, and he's going to spend a week here in San Francisco. And this is his big chance. So he signed up for the reading. He arrived what he thought was early enough, but there were about 94 other readers ahead of him. So the spot that young Mr. Peter Paul Van Camp here has been assigned is at 3:45 in the morning. He sits through the first hour or so and then realizes that he's already had a pretty long day, and by golly, he's tired and he has to get up early in the morning, and so he decides to slip away, and he never gives the reading that he had planned. Well, 47 years have gone by, and my goodness, the years have had their say, haven't they? And young Peter Paul Van Camp has become the specimen you see before you. And what I'm going to attempt is to replicate, after a fashion, the reading that might have been given that night had I not chickened out and left well before my time. Now, I'm not going to try to see here. Let me step away a moment. These are the glasses I would have been wearing that night. I can't see very well through them now, not well enough to read. So what I'm saying is I'm not going to try to duplicate the reading. I'm not going to give it exactly as I would have done, but I will be featuring pieces which would have been available to me and were probably what I would have offered to the drowsy 6 or 7 people who still would have been there at 3:45 in the morning when my 5 minutes came around. So I will just step away, change into spectacles through which I can actually see, and we'll get this thing taken care of. This little matter that's been nagging at me for nearly 5 decades. See you in a moment. Why, hello, yes. My name is Peter Paul Van Camp. I'm newly arrived here. Happy to be in your midst. I realize that most of you are drowsing, so I shan't be too loud. But I have been sitting here for about 7 hours, and just to make sure that I am in fact in voice before I read my 2 poems, I'd like to just test my vocal prowess, such as it is. This is a little snippet of my old high school song. I'm from Coshocton in Ohio. How our hearts do fill with joy whene'er we hear thy name. With spirits high and voices raised, we glory in thy fame. Thy courage strong and honor bright, we know will never die. And endless is our love for you, our dear Coshocton High. And now I think I'll be all right. I think I've proven to myself that I can vocalize. Now, well, Some of my poems are nature poems, some of my poems are happy poems. This one is not one of those. This one is a tribute to, well, there's a tiny grave back in Coshocton where I grew up, and it holds the mortal remains of a well-loved companion of mine. His name was Terence, and this is entitled Elegy to a departed turtle. You were my pet, my pride and my joy, but scarcely yet can I bring myself to think of you, Terence, though 'tis now some years since you left me for a kinder world. A kinder world. This is my solace, for I think that you are happier now than in those last sad days of your illness, when, though I nursed you and stayed at your side, you wearily shook your small head, as if to say, "'Tis of no use for one of my size to contradict the Great One." But I smile when I remember you in other days, Terence, for then, especially the sunny days, for then you would climb upon your basking rock, and with a sigh of purest joy lie motionless for hours, eyes closed, head high. Still do I keep your basking rock, though it be hollow without you, Terence. But our gladdest times came, I think, on the summer evenings, when, in innocent harmony, we sang together as one of the lives of turtles and poets. 'Tis hard for me to be unselfish, but I hope that you are happiest now, Terence. Thank you very much. Oh, you are awake. Sorry to disturb you. I have just one more piece to go here. This one has a chorus, but I shan't press the matter since, I shan't press the matter. This is something I like to remember. Early days on the Walhonding riverbanks in my hometown, and picking raspberries. This is an ode to a berry bush. Now, if you do waken and find the chorus in progress, here's what you might repeat. O berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit. Let's not even try. When I first glimpsed of you, though you did try to hide, as I passed through the green fields today, the rich sight of your treasure made my heart sad, sing with pleasure and more joyousness than I can say. O berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit. I stopped shyly to lay 'neath your gem-laden boughs and to pick me a ripe, juicy berry. Ah, the sweet taste of it, when I bit into it, was something to make me quite merry. O berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit. I pray that I did not give any offense by helping myself to your produce, for I ate of my fill, and I filled up my pail till my fingers were dripping with rasp juice. Oh, berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit. And when all your branches were unjeweled and bare, and your thorns did grip into my arm, tearing at my pale skin, at my cheek and my chin, were you hoping to do me some harm? Interrogatively. O berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit? Or were you anxiously trying to say, in the only way you possess, that in my great haste, the more berries to taste, I had spilt some ripe fruit on the grass? Oh, berry bush, ye berry bush, provider of edible fruit. Well, I see that my time has surely elapsed. Our next contestant for our affection is coming up momentarily. My name has been and shall continue to be Peter Paul Van Camp, and I thank you very much for such attention as your lethargy has permitted you to afford me. Thank you very much indeed. And so this young fellow would have stepped away from the stage and made his way out into the street as the dawn rose over San Francisco. And I'd like to dedicate this recapitulation of the performance that never quite was to all the other 90-odd poets who were there that night and did actually perform. I hope they've all done well in their lives. It's been a very long time since June of 1973. A great deal has taken place, but I hope we've all prospered and shall continue to do so. Peter Paul Van Camp here, and I shall step away